Yo, what's up? My name's Brandon Homan, and I will be doing a quick tutorial today on how to make your basic Dungeons & Dragons 5e character. As you can see at the top of my page, there is a lot of fun tabs up here, and that means that we get a lot to cover, so we're going to get started. These are all just websites that I recommend using. They've helped me through all my campaigns that I've done. The main one that I do recommend you using, and I'm not getting paid to say this at all, I use this Adventurer's Codex here. It gives you the perfect way to work your character. We're going to start from scratch, so we're going to get started with this. I am a player. Next. This is where we pause until we get more information. And yes, that was my fingers cracking. Thank you very much. Alright, so this is where you get the variance in how people do it. I always recommend starting with a race and then going to your class, but every other DM will recommend something different. So it depends on what's more important to you, what you are going to be doing in the campaign, or how you're going to look in the campaign. Each race will lend itself to a class, and each class will lend itself to a race. So it's kind of how you want to go. For today, I'm going to do a tutorial on how to make a basic barbarian, but I'll go through and how to do any of them with this basic outline. So we're going to start with a perfect class for the barbarian is either the half-orc here, or the Goliath is also a very good barbarian class. Always ask your DM before you pick your race. Typically, if you go with one of these, they'll always say yes. These are a little bit more iffy, and these are even iffier yet. Homebrewn, you really have to do some convincing most of the time, because some of these are a little OP. So today we're going to start off with something basic. Your half-orc. Lots of fun stuff here, and he's so pretty. Yeah. So this is where you'll find all of your stuff here. I forgot to mention the name of this website here. This is Geiger's 5e D&D. You'll find all of this information under the race. Half-orc, we're working on a lot of stuff here. The nice thing with this is if you pick a race that is one of the core ones, it'll fill it all out for you for the most part. So let's start off with a character's name. Typically for these, they'll give you a list of names that are appropriate. You can make up whatever you want. This is D&D. You can have whatever character you want. I just saw Avengers Endgame, and one of my favorite characters in the MCU is Korg. But you can't just have one first name, so we're going to go Korg Tram. Make some weird-ass name. Doesn't really matter. My name is Brandon, as I said at the beginning of the video. Typically, you're going to want to ask your DM whatever they want for their alignment. Typically, DMs will either say, yeah, you can be whatever you want, or they'll try to have everybody lean towards one alignment just to make things a little bit easier and everything get along in the party. But it doesn't really matter in the end goal. So I told my most recent group to try to stray more towards the good side because it's for a plot reason. That's why you always want to ask your DM. For this character, I'm thinking neutral good. He's just going to be a fighter type. He just wants to punch stuff, but doesn't care either way what it is. So you'll notice all of the races that are on here. These are ones that will automatically fill out a lot of stuff for you. So my half-orc, he is a male. And this is, I'll get to the backgrounds here in a minute. We'll get there. No deity. Deities make things complicated. Don't worry. Barbarian, as you'll notice, all the other base ones are in here as well. It'll also help filling out things later. What you need to do for age is you need to go in here and it'll typically give you something about age in here, right here about. And this will be true for every single race, for the most part, when you click on it in the previous tab. So, half-orcs, they spell it wrong in this page. Makes it very professional looking, I know. But half-ors, I guess, they live slightly faster than humans. So, they they hardly ever live longer than 75 years. So I want a guy who's on the younger side, but not too young. They reach adulthood, so their 18 is 14. Whatever. I'm going to say my guy is 25, meaning that he's around 35-ish. I don't know. So, 25. That really doesn't affect anything in your story. Alright, so now let's cover the background. And this is the same thing on the Geiger's website. It's under, you go into the search bar and type in backgrounds. So let's go and do that for us here. These are your most common ones here. You can go homebrewed. Homebrewed is things that people have made and have been approved, but they aren't official in the book. So you can read through all of these, and it's just what you want your character's story, their life story, to be, what they do. For me, I kind of wanted my half-orc to be a bounty hunter. I find that interesting. He's a big, tall bounty hunter that is traveling all the time. I like that idea. But it can be different for whatever you want. Like I said, spellcasters tend to have different backgrounds, but it doesn't really matter in the long run. So the bounty hunter, this will eventually give us more information later. But for now, let's go in here. Background, bounty hunter. As you noticed, there are some ones in there. They haven't updated this in a while, so there might not be all of them. Your typical one, depending on your background, but most of the time you're going to start out with an explorer's pack, and that will give you items later. I hate starting at level 1. I find it boring. But you don't want to start too far ahead if you have beginners, like my next DM campaign will. So we're going to start out with level 3. It's a nice round number. You get most races get their extra ability at level 3, and that makes things easier. We're going to ignore experience for now, and we're going to go on to the next part. Alright, here's where the fun part comes in. Now, it gives you recommended on how to roll for abilities. I like to mix things up a little bit, though. So I'm going to switch and pause here, and I'm going to go over to my live phone cam, because I don't have money for a good camera yet, and we're going to go from there. So give me a second here to transfer over. Alright, the live cam. Now, as you can see, I have lots of dice here, and for some random reason, tape threw that away. You don't need this many dice if you don't want to, so this is just collection. And I don't mean to flaunt my dice or anything, but whatever. We're going to need 5 d6s for this. Now, on the website, it recommended 4 d6s. I like to have higher level, or higher ability scores, because it lends to more powerful and more fighting battles, and if you're a good DM, you can throw harder enemies at them, and it's fun. It's fun. So I like to do higher level characters, so then you add that extra dice. So what we're going to do is you roll 5 d6s, and you take the higher of the 5. So in this case, we have a pretty high roll here to start out. And that means that will be one of our scores at a whopping 17. And you're going to want to go to Word or something and type that down. And we're going to record all these. Alright, so let's roll one more time here. We have to roll a total of 6 times. Now, we didn't have this happen at this time, but say that you rolled a 1, and a 2 or something. Let's see if I can find numbers on here. Oh no, you say you rolled that. You're not going to use those, so you re-roll these, keeping these 2, and then you would take 1 more of those. You don't take that 6 again and get an 18, you just take the highest one of those 3 that you re-rolled. And now you're sitting at a 17. Alright, so now we're going to stop recording here, and we're going to go back to the computer. Alright, we're back. Sweet. Living in computer world. Alright, so now we need to take those numbers that we have recorded here. See them there, all pretty and lovely. And then you're going to start plugging them in here. Now, remember, with your race, you gain a bonus, or gain some bonuses. This means you get to add some extra stuff to your rolls when encountering strength or constitution or whatever it may be. Every race has different ones, and this is where each race lends itself to a different class, because your strength and con scores are going to be useful when you're upfront fighters. Your upfront fighters are going to be your monks, your paladins, your uh, fighters, and your barbarians for the most part. So those you need higher scores, ergo this bonus here that you get will give you a better chance at being a good barbarian or whatever it may be. For other races, they'll lend you to higher wisdom scores, higher charisma scores, and that will be more useful for the spellcaster half of things. So for today, we're going to be a fighter, or a barbarian, I should say. So I want a high strength score, which means I'm going to add my +2 to this. And you also want a high con score, so we're going to add 1 there. The rest of them you can put in wherever you want. So I get a 19 to strength, a 15 to con, and now I have 2 11s and 2 14s to put places. I want a higher wisdom and a higher dex, intelligence and charisma. Yeah, aren't in it. For a upfront fighter, you don't need to be smart, or you don't need to talk good. Alright, now we're into the actual making of this character. Now, the important thing to figure out right away is health. Health is great. You like having health. As a barbarian, you get a substantial amount of health because you're going to be taking hits up front. So here's your hit points and where you're going to get that. For spellcasters, this is going to be significantly lower, but for your upfront fighters, you get a higher number. And barbarians get the highest. So to make sense of what we have here, your hit dice per level means that you get a 1d12, which is a 12-sided die. And that means that each time you level up, you get another one. And you get to add this to your hit points when in dire need, or if you are really low, you can take that, but you only get 1 per level, so you got to be using it carefully. Your hit points at your first level is 12, or the maximum on this dice here, plus your constitution modifier. So let's go to let's pretend that we're level 1 here, and let's figure out what we're working with. So 12 plus my constitution modifier, which is conveniently right here. That means that we start out with 14 hit points, sorry. So that is, and mark this as your d12 there. So now you add a d12 plus your con modifier for each level now. So every time you level up, you add a 12 plus a 2. So you at least get 3 hit points every time you level up. You can, if your DM allows you, you can take the average 6 of your dice. So instead of rolling for it and gambling for a higher number, but also possibly getting a 1, you can just always take 6 plus your con modifier. So you just say that you roll averagely every time. I rolled a 2. So that means for the second level, I only get 4 more hit points. Oops. Now let's try one more time. See, that was better. I got a 12. So now I get 14 more. So now I'm sitting at 32 hit points at level 3. And you can do that as many times depending on what level you're starting out at. But since I'm starting out at 3, that's where we're at. As a barbarian, we go on to the next little bit here. As a barbarian, we get strength and constitution saving throw proficiencies. Now, that might have sounded like a different language there, and I'll explain it right now. So you're going to go in here and plug in whatever it says there. For different classes, it should be something different. For a barbarian, that means that anytime that you are in a dire situation and you need to make a saving throw, you get bonuses for being a barbarian in these 2 areas. So, in the world of D&D, in order to save yourself occasionally, you'll need to roll a d20, and they'll ask you to add that saving throw number. So, for example, let's say that you're having a drinking contest in a bar as your character. you will need to roll a Constitution saving throw in order to not pass out or throw up or whatever it may be. You would roll a d20 and then add that 4 instead of the original 2. And the same goes for your strength. Say that you're holding up a boulder and about to be crushed. You would roll the saving throw, and then you'd add that +6 that is right there. Speaking of proficiencies, at level 3, your proficiency is 2. Now this website here, another advantage is as you level up, it will improve your proficiency for you. A nice little bonus that you got there. Alright, so all of this seems appropriate right now, except for the armor class and the speed. So you'll see there, armor class is your base of 12. Now, I always recommend going and looking at your armor proficiencies as a barbarian. And you'll notice here, whatever your class might be, it'll be right in this area. So as a barbarian, you are proficient in light and medium armor, as well as shields. So you're going to go into this tab here, which is Roll20, and you can find this by just typing in Google D&D armor, and you'll look for the Roll20.net. You can skip past all this part if you want, and then go right down to this chart that they have here. Now, as a barbarian, I am allowed to use this and this. You'll notice all of your stuff here is for what you'll use with this armor. So for me, I'm going to choose this breastplate. It's expensive, but it's worth it. We're not worrying about money. I never worry about starting money when it comes to armor and stuff because that's basic necessity. And if you're at level 3, that means you've had time to acquire this. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually go into our equipment and do that for us. We're going to scroll down to this armor part, and it'll be right at the top of the list here. This will give you all your bonuses for you. So your armor class is 14 plus your dexterity modifier. So let's go back to stats here. And this is where this website is a little iffy because your modifier, you're going to need to, since its base is 12, you're going to need to add 4 to it. It's weird. You just need to make sure they add up to the number you're supposed to be. Alright, next is speed. Speed is great, and speed is going to be under your race. This is your pretty average speed for your character. That means you can move 30 feet in one round of action. And you can use a dash to move 60 feet. A dash means that you, instead of doing your action, you just move. And you get to move twice your amount. I'm going to go in here, edit this, make this 30. There we go. Bow chicka bow wow. Alright, inspiration. Is a small little thing that DMs will occasionally do. You don't need to worry about that right now. Inspiration, though, later, if a DM says, hey, you get inspiration, that means you've done something completely in character or you've done something immaculate. And that means later that at any point in time you can re-roll a d20. Or you can give that to somebody else and make them re-roll a d20 if it's an important save. Now, you can only have one at a time, so don't be afraid to use them. We're going to save that. Alright, this page is looking good. Let's go on to skills. Now, if you'll notice here, as half-orc, it already filled in all this stuff for you. I still recommend you going through and reading it. This is all your background information. Each races have different abilities which will help you in battle or as outside of battle. And this is all the other stuff. I'm not going to go into detail right now because it's going to be different for you because you're going to have different characters. So we're going to go through, actually the first thing that we should do is go through our proficiencies. Now you can see a lot of stuff here, don't you? You get different skills as a barbarian or a half-orc. As a half-orc, I believe that you get a proficiency to intimidation. That means you get a little bonus. You get your +2 proficiency bonus that you saw right here. And you get to add that to your intimidation. So anytime your DM says, roll an intimidation check, you get to be proficient in it. Get a little extra bonus. So you add a +2 instead of a +0, or whatever it may be, your charisma score, your base charisma score. Alright, now as a barbarian, you get a few more things. You can choose, it'll always say vary between what it is on your particular race. But as barbarian, you get to choose between two of these 6. I always love to go perception because that is probably the most common rule you'll ever get from a DM. So you always hit that up if you can. Hit that up. You got a +4 now. And now as a barbarian, athletics is really helpful because you're going to do lots of feats of action and adventure as a barbarian. Alright, and then as a bounty hunter, you actually get a deception proficiency as well. And each background will also give you different proficiencies. So, we'll add deception on there. Find it. Alphabets are hard. Alright. There's that. That's all your proficiencies that you'll get at this time. Eventually, you might be able to take more if you get some feats, which I'm not going to even go into this video because that's a whole new set of beans. Your DM will hopefully help you with that, but for this campaign, we're doing the level 3 characters, and you don't get feats until level 4, so that's fun. Alright, we're going to add some class features. Level 3 Barbarian, look at this. It gives you all of that right away. And it has bards and all your other classes as well. You won't have to, but if you do choose some sort of subtype, you can type this in manually, and you would go to your page here and just copy and paste. Alright, Barbarian Rage. If you do end up choosing a Barbarian, this is awesome, and I would recommend it. You get a lot of bonuses. I'm not going to go into that right now. And then finally, the best part is the Primal Path. Now that with the Primal Path, we're going to go into Barbarians here. Or which one is it? Which one of these tabs is it? Right here. These are your main Barbarian path here. But you're going to go in here, and as a Barbarian, you get to choose which way you want to go with your life and fighting abilities, and each of them will have different advantages to it. That is all your stuff that you need for that at level 3. You'd continue going with all of your other barbarian skills if you were past that level. So here you are. At 4th level, you gain feats or an ability score. So we don't have to worry about that at level 3. I can do a separate video if you request that at a later date. We're going to keep moving for now. Proficiencies. This is where you can add your languages and your tools. So if you remember correctly, back here we have weapon proficiency in martial and simple, and light armor, medium armor, and shields. So we're going to add that first. So martial weapons. We get both melee and ranged as a barbarian because it didn't specify otherwise. So martial weapons are just a more blunt weapon, or more cutty, stabby weapon. They are made with metal, and they're not as simple, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Anyway, I'm going to get lots of comments on how stupid that is, but whatever. Simple, ranged, and woo, we have those. Alright, next is the armor. So we had medium armor, which we already selected, and simple armor. Light armor. Sweet. And we're also proficient in shields, which if you wanted to, you could have a shield to increase your armor class more, but you also are encumbered by a shield. So that's a pain in the butt. Alright, now we can add languages. And as a half-orc, you have certain requirements. You can speak and write Common and Orcish as an orc. So we'll put that in Common, Orc, And as a bounty hunter, you also know undercommon, so that's cool. Type that in. Undercommon is the language of the underground where demons and crap live. Pretty cool. And I always, as a DM, allow one extra language per bonus of intelligence, which we don't have any. If you had a +4 to intelligence, you could learn an extra 4 languages. But that will depend again on who your DM is. And that's basically all we have for proficiencies, other than, I think, if I remember correctly, Bounty Hunter can have Thieves' Tools, which means that they can steal stuff and pick locks and stuff. It's pretty great. So, Thieves' Tools. Alright, this is pretty much all you need at 3rd level. And I know that was a lot. Like I said, go in here later and study all of the traits that you get from your race. It's very important to know, because you get lots of cool stuff. Spells, I'll do a different video. But there's lots of cool stuff you can do with this page. It has almost all spells in there, and you can always fill out more if you do more research. But we're not going to worry about that. I might do another video, like I said, so we'll worry about that later. Weapons, this is the fun part. Now, as a barbarian, it gives you a couple that you can use. I always recommend using the Great Axe because it is powerful and I love it. Now, for weapons, I use this website here. It is d20srd.org. It just gives you a nice list, and you can skip all this crap again down to this chart down here, and this will give you where all of your weapons lie. Like I said earlier, simple weapons you can have as a barbarian. You look here, you can have 2 hand axes or any one simple weapon. So that means you can go through here and pick one. There's lots of cool stuff. You can click on them. You'll notice that the damage for if you are a small creature is slightly different than if you are a medium creature. That's what this stuff up here means. We're working with a medium creature, even though he's, whatever, 8 feet tall, 7 feet tall, or whatever it is that half orcs are. Medium creatures, so that means we get a little bit higher bonus damage. For us, I like the Morning Star. I think it has a certain level class, and it does pretty good damage. It does bludgeoning and piercing damage, which is pretty good. So we're going to go with that, but you can go with any of these or whatever your class allows you. So let's go here. Morning Star. And yeah, you have proficiency in this, so you get a little extra bonus. And yeah, there you go. We'll talk about the extra rage damage you can do later. So that's your basic here. Alright. Ooh, you also need to manually enter in your proficiency bonus. I forgot to mention that. So your 2-hit modifier is with your proficiency bonus. So that's 2. If you are proficient, you can use any weapon without it. So that's cool. Now let's add another weapon. We can get a martial weapon, and I always like big martial weapons. So let's go back to our fun page here. So as an orc, 2-handed weapons are just a lovely little treat. So we're going to skip all this stuff here. You can do all of these. There's so many choices of weapons, but I like going big. Go big or go home, as they say. So Great Axe, nice heavy weapon, but it does a lot of damage. And for a medium creature, it does a 1d12, which is the biggest one you'll see on here. So that is awesome. So we're going to skip all that stuff. So Great Axe is what we're going with. Like I said, choose whatever you want. Base it on how much damage you want to do. If you're not going to be an upfront fighter, it doesn't really matter as much. If you're going to be a spellcaster, just have a little backup weapon in case you end up in the damage. But for us, we want to do a lot of damage. Or, that's a lot of damage, as my friend from Flex Tape commercial, or whatever, the multiple Flex Tape commercials. Now, this doesn't have the important detail of it also does bludgeoning, so we're going to add that on there. Bludgeoning. I think that's how you spell it. No, it's not. There it is. I'm a college graduate. And let's go back to the barbarian page. You'll also notice that as a barbarian, you get an explorer's pack. We already did that. And 4 javelins. Javelins are great. Keep track of them. They get lost easily. Javelin. And we're proficient in those. Because it's a simple one-handed melee weapon. Sweet. So you'll notice lots of fun stuff here. Javelin has a range of 30 feet, and you can throw it, or you can just stab it up front. Ooh, I forgot to add how many we have. We have 4. Sweet. That's all you really need. You can add more armor if your DM allows it, but remember you only have 1 chest, and that's can only be covered by one thing, so yeah. Alright, so here's all the stuff that you get from your base. It's a great time. Basic rations. We're going to do some starting wealth fun, which is in this tab that you see right here. Starting wealth is per character level, which will be determined on this page, dnd5efandom.com /wiki/equipment, whatever. It'll give your starting wealth per whatever your class is. As a barbarian, you can only get 2d4 times 10. So I'm going to roll that quick just for fun. So we're at 120 gold, plus your 300 here, because that's what we're at. So 420 gold pieces to start out, which is decent. It's pretty decent. I'll go into here. 420. Blaze it. Save that. Now there's a fun little conversion thing that you can do if you want. Exchange rates are varying. For lower levels, you're gonna eventually maybe use copper pieces, but gold pieces is where most DMs use their transactions. But this is the exchange rate here. If you want to take a screenshot now, do it and save it, or you can just do that on your own website. But this is cool stuff here. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing actually too. So if you have 1 gold piece, that means you have 100 copper pieces. It's a 1 to 100 ratio for that. It's a 1 to 10 ratio for silver pieces. Never ever use Electrum, because that's just stupid and nobody ever uses those. So just nix that. Just screw that shit. I'm never going to use it as a DM. And I probably will never use copper or silver pieces too. That's just small change. It's like, do I want to give you, oh, that costs 32 cents. Just give me $1, round it out. You're fine. Anyway, I digress. And that's basically all you need. Eventually you'll accrue more stuff, but at the start of a game, you really don't need more. Notes, if you want to add more, you can add a fun backstory to your character. I recommend having that because it makes the game more interesting. That can vary as far as why you're on a quest, all that stuff. So now we get to the fun part of describing what your character is. We have half-orc. Now, half-orcs, remember, are ugly as shit. They're not great. You'll notice additional information will give you more about what's happening here in their description, how they react with people, what their goals in life are, and their names, obviously. So, for half-orcs, they're not attractive. But you can have variants as much as you want. Half-orc can be gorgeous if you want it. It's D&D. It's a fake world, so you make your own rules if you want. Fun stuff. Now this is where we get back into our bounty hunter. Pull out all that information here. So we'll go back to our bounty hunter tab, which I hope you have kept open. And this is like if you don't remember or if you don't recall, this is what your background is. So it'll be slightly different per. And you'll notice down here you can roll for each of these if you want to have it random, or you can just pick what you want out of these choices, or you can write your own. It really doesn't matter. these rules are guidelines, and if you ask your DM on wild choices or whatever it may be, they'll probably allow it because it's a fake world. So we have fun with it. I recommend just using these to get them quick and easy, or if you want to write your own, run it by your DM first, but they'll probably be okay with it, as I said. I have a great deal of practice and experience from bounties, and I can relate to almost any situation. Or, ooh, this also seems a fun one. I frequently move from town to town. Let's go with that. So personality traits, plug that in here. Boom, I frequently move from town to town and eager to pursue new marks and seek new contracts. Alright, let's go back to Bounty Hunter and slide that back over here. Ideals. This is what you like in life. And they have the guideline here of what your alignment matches to the ideal that you have. You can follow that if you want, or if you don't want to, that's fine. So that could be fun. Or, we're going with a neutral guy, so I think I like this one. Nothing personal against my targets. Job is a job. Sounds very mysterious and cool. Our guy is cool. Korg Tram is cool. This is ending up nothing like the character from Avengers, but it's whatever. It's just a name. Bonds. What ties you to your deeds? I like this one. Once soldier, my comrade's grave betrayal forced me from my home and into this horrid life. Because we're good, but, you know, we got in a bad situation. That's makes for an interesting story. At a younger age, my actions made me a criminal, taunting me and following me to my day. That seems interesting. There you go. Guess what we've done? We've made a character in D&D. And it's pretty much all done. We really don't have anything else to do. So this is your D&D character. All of your information is here, and this makes for playing much easier because you don't have to fumble with sheets and erase stuff, and yeah, that's why I recommend this website. So thank you all for watching. I hope that you join me for my next video of the spellcaster base of D&D character, and hopefully this summer I will also be doing how-tos on funny voices and dialects as well. So thank you all for watching.